Hello, welcome to Undisputed Boxing. We're here to review the matchroom card, Fight Camp 3 from last night. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button, leave a comment. I'm here with Rick. We're going to dissect and review last night's card. Joshua Buatsi steps up finally against Richard Bolotniks. Cracking fight, pretty good card as well overall. So we're going to go through a couple of the fights and also talk through Vergil Ortiz versus Kavalauskas, which also happened through the middle of the night. How are we doing, Rick?
Good. I've got a feeling I'm going to butcher some of the names on this one.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one. But let's start at the top. So Joshua Buatsi against Richard Bolotniks. I think Bolotniks was ranked number 10 or 11 with BoxRec, so significant step up. I know there was a long, a lot of talk about him stepping up against Sullivan Barrera as that kind of that sort of step up. But I actually think this Bolotniks was actually a better fight because the Sullivan Barrera that fought Gilberto Ramirez looked pretty washed to me. So I actually think this was a much sterner test. But yeah, what was your take on
it? I can't remember what we predicted on this. Did we do a prediction on it, or did we?
We actually both predicted Buatsi late stoppage, so we both got it right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's part of me that was pretty impressed with him. Buatsi, there was a bit of me that was not cause for concern, but just. There's enough there just to say, oh, don't go too quickly. I think, it was a great learning fight for him. I think one thing he showed, I kind of sensed that he had this. I'm not quite sure how hard Bolotniks, that's how you say it, hits. But I think Buatsi's, I'm not quite sure if it's elite, but it could be an elite chin. Might be an elite chin.
Buatsi's chin?
Might be an elite, that chin. Just get the feeling. But I was a bit concerned about how many times he was getting caught, especially early on in the rounds he does. And I've seen it in other fights, upright, not tons of head movement. And he seemed to work out the attacks a bit more, so he got hit less as we're going on. But I just worry, does he take too much punishment, and against a more elite fighter, will he get found out and in tears? And then the other thing is, he did what some fighters do, and as a learning for him is he kind of punched himself out. I think it was in the round 6. Almost got a bit messy as well with his attacks, like over smothered his own work a little bit, and they had to wait for his second wind. But that sometimes happens. I don't think that'll probably happen to him again now. He's kind of experienced that. So yeah, I mean, you got to say overall, good, pretty impressive. He did catch him with a lot of clean punches, and it was more the guy was tired and worn down than it was. I know it was a one shot that put him down, but is his power really? How good is his power? It's there. And it's there at the end as well, which is good. But
yeah.
I don't know. There's a little bit about me. I'm just taking my brakes off a bit, Buatsi. Slightly.
Really? Yeah, I can tell.
Bit.
You're not getting too carried away, are you?
Well, I'd still say I'm quite carried away. It's just a little bit of, yeah. It was like an 8 out of 10. Do you know what I mean? 7, 8 out of 10 against a very good opponent. So that's not a criticism. It's just there's enough there to make me think, don't rush into a world title fight. And I don't think they will. I mean, it sounds like he's gonna have a fight in December, then maybe a title fight early next year, which is probably good. I think not going with Vergil Ortiz, not Vergil Ortiz. What's his Vergil Hunter?
Vergil Hunter, yeah.
Yeah. So is that their second fight together?
I think it might be, yes. I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, so again, I just think
it's Marko Kalic was the last fight, the Croatian.
Yeah.
Who actually he gave him a tough time. Yeah.
There's been a fight in between that though, hasn't there?
Has there?
There was some guy that he knocked out in about the 4th round or something like that, or 3rd round.
Yeah, you might
Real
be right,
nasty
actually.
knockout it was.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a third fight together. I'm not sure.
Mm.
But anyway, just a bit more time to work on, and mainly that the defense stuff. You know, I mean, I don't think you're going to get him change his style massively and move his head tons, but I don't know, just a bit more defensively aware. Sometimes he goes into exchanges and you're kind of like, oh God, what's going to happen here?
Mm. Yeah, he likes. There was a lot of he was kind of sat in mid range with kind of a cross kind of guard, and it was almost like he was just like drawing him in to try and open him up a little bit and then try and counter him, which did look a little bit dangerous. But he did take some big shots. But I don't think, did you give Bolotniks, did you score it at all? Did you give Bolotniks any of the first 6 rounds? Because I don't think I did.
I gave him the first round, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Andy Lee did the same as well. I think it was one of those. It was one.
Yeah, I did give him another round. I think I gave him two rounds overall.
I gave him more than that. So I gave him the rounds 7 and 8, which Buatsi looked like he punched himself out. Because when he put him down in 6, he went looking for the knockout, went looking for the finish, and then he kind of punched himself out, and he took 7 and 8 off, and I gave those rounds to Bolotniks, and it actually looked like he was growing in confidence, and I was actually a little bit concerned. It looked like he was growing in confidence, and he was catching Buatsi quite a bit, and he really needed to kind of get the fight by the scruff of the neck again, and then obviously. Yeah, the Hollywood reel finish, that right hand to the temple.
Maybe I'm not giving enough credit. I don't know, but I don't know. For me to go, yeah, he's ready for world title. I think he needed to be a little bit more dominant and almost evade a lot of his attacks and maybe finish him earlier. And if he'd not taken some of that, if he'd avoided some of that leather in the first couple of rounds and he'd finished him in the 6th, I might have been like, do you know what? He's probably ready, but I don't know. It's not a bad thing, just holding off. And I think they're going to do it anyway. I think he'll have another fight in November. I want them to keep this, this same level of opposition. And don't dip down too low, and it's a blowout in 2 rounds.
Yeah. But the next one could be a keep busy fight, couldn't it? I don't know. I'm a little bit more. I think I'm a bit more hyped than you actually. I was really impressed because he had to kind of get into the trenches when he didn't get the finish. And then Bolotniks kind of grew back into the fight. He took some big shots, and Bolotniks actually started to take center of the ring. So he was really kind of like tested. But I'm really impressed with Buatsi's balance. Like he never looks he always looks very composed and calm. Like even when he's kind of under pressure, he's got his back to the ropes. And in previous fights, whenever I've seen him go for the finish, he still looks like he doesn't look erratic. He's not like windmilling. He's still very calm and composed. He did kind of smother his work a little bit, but I was really impressed actually. Really impressed.
First time I'd say I'd seen him get a little bit erratic.
Yeah.
In the 6th.
Because it's usually very calm, I think. Yeah. Who'd you put him in with next time if you're managing Joshua Buatsi?
I probably don't know enough fighters in the division, but someone I wouldn't want to keep busy fight where it's like going down a few levels.
Do you know what I was thinking? Like Sergei Kovalev. He hasn't fought for 2 years. I think he might be serving a ban, but I think DAZN have actually got a 2-fight option or a 1-fight left option on him because he fought Canelo, didn't he, on DAZN? I just wonder if they could kind of wheel him out for a 12-rounder. That would be, a good name to have on the record. It's still Kovalev, but I think that I think Buatsi stops him in under 6 rounds.
Yeah, possibly.
It might cost a lot of money though. That's the only thing. That would be the only thing that would stop it, I think.
Yeah, and you wonder if it's best that Buatsi wins the world title and then defends it against him.
Yeah, but they kind of need if they fight Kovalev, they need to do it in the next 6 to 12 months because I think he is pretty much finished now, isn't he? But I think if they could get him for a December fight, Buatsi versus Kovalev, I think that's that's a headline fight in the No2 or something. And then next year, Bivol, I think he could take on Bivol. I'd put him in with Bivol, not in the next fight, the fight after. I think he's ready for something like that.
Yeah, I don't think Bivol's. Who did he fight last? He fought a Brit, didn't he?
Yeah, Craig Richards.
Yeah,
who actually gave a very good account of himself. Bivol only just beat him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so I don't know. It's like he's got this thing about his power, but I didn't think he looked like he hit that hard in that fight. And if Buatsi has got a solid chin, But yeah, exciting, and I'm excited to see the next steps. But yeah, just a little bit more cautious.
Yeah. All right, let's go down the card. Joe Cordina versus Joshua Hernandez. Great finish from Joe Cordina. I hadn't heard much about Joshua Hernandez. I think this was actually at lightweight, but I hear that Joe Cordina is going to remain at super feather. This is obviously a first fight back, I think, since his hand surgery, which looks like it was probably the right decision, because he just lit Joshua Hernandez up with a straight right, a lead right, and then again, and then the third one, I think, just put him to sleep in under a minute.
Yeah, they exchanged like 3 times, and it's just like lightning. And it's just like, he came off worse both times, all 3 times, and ended up on his backside.
Yeah, and he just crumbled, like he just folded like a cheap deck chair. Like you knew that as soon as he hit the deck, that was it. It was all over.
Yeah.
Really exciting, actually. I mean, Joe Cordina doesn't seem to have much kind of, I don't know, fanfare behind him, really, does he? Nobody's really been talking about him that much. But that super featherweight division, you'd have to say, he's 2 or 3 fights away from a world title, surely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how highly ranked that guy was that he fought.
I think he was top 100 in BoxRec, so not particularly high. But I mean, first fight back. But he has fought at a high level.
Yeah, they just need to put him in. They probably almost what they did with Buatsi, they need to do with him now in the next fight.
Yeah.
They're right. This is it now. This is if you do this, you're on the verge of world level.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Those are the only 2 fights I saw on the card. Because I didn't watch it live because I was out, but I watched the Buatsi fight, and then when I saw the result, Cordina, I knew it was 1 round. I got that in.
Well, I saw the Michael Mickinson fight, which not exactly a huge tear up against the Polish fighter whose name I'm going to forget. But Mickinson obviously coming off the win against Chris Congo. Mickinson was an underdog for that Chris Congo fight. So the problem with Mickinson, he's in a very competitive division, that sort of 147 division, but he's one of those kind of slick southpaw, and not a lot of people are going to want to fight him. Just a very kind of tricky opponent, and he kind of falls into that kind of bracket of like a Junior Witter, clearly very talented, very slick operator, but it's like, who needs him? Yeah. So it's difficult to see, where he goes from. I mean, he's ranked number 3 in Britain in 147, so just a bit behind Conor Benn. Conor Benn was asked about him, and he openly said, "Look, why would I fight, a slick, tricky southpaw? It's just not, I really want to have a tear up." So it's difficult to see, where he goes from here. He's going to be one of those very difficult. He must be a promoter's nightmare, a fighter like that. He's similar to kind of Dmitry Andrade, and he's a world title holder. Very, very difficult to match, because it's very difficult to look good against them. But all the same, very good performance. Not particularly heavy-handed. He's only got 2 knockouts and 21 wins, undefeated. But he's in that kind of 147 mix in Britain. So yeah, see where he goes. Vergil Ortiz versus Kavalauskas. I did just watch that on the DAZN app. Yeah, I mean, if I'd have seen the whole night, if I'd have stayed up to watch it, that's probably fight of the night for me. Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, he I think it was in the first round. He Ortiz was pretty buzzed. And I'm not going to try and say the guy's name.
Kavalauskas.
Kavalauskas. Yeah, you have to say, yeah, like the early stuff, but Ortiz's jab's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And he mixes it up as well, and he's doing a lot of work with the body. I mean, I think in the end it was a bit like the Buatsi fight, in a sense of it was a slow beatdown, really, and in the end, the guy's body just kind of gave up, and he was never kind of really out of it or anything like that. He just almost like he just had the heart beating out of him.
Yeah.
And
that's a top fighter, Kavalauskas.
Yeah, I mean, didn't Crawford stop him in the same round? So it's almost...
Crawford stopped him in the 9th round, but Kavalauskas was for a long time, a fighter that the Top Rank were fully, they were really behind him, really pushing him for a long time, saying this is going to be the next guy.
He's not with Top Rank, is he now?
No, he's broken from them now, because they just couldn't get him. They couldn't get him any fights. Top Rank don't really have. They're not very good in the 147 division. That's why Crawford hasn't really had any, decent opponents. Obviously, Crawford I think Crawford knocked him out in the 9th round, and then Vergil Ortiz just beat him in the 8th round. But in a way, I think Vergil Ortiz's performance was just, I don't know, it's kind of slightly better.
Do they think now that Ortiz will fight Crawford?
Well, he's his mandatory now, because I think he's now the WBO mandatory. When it will be called, I'm not too sure. But I'm actually hearing that Crawford, Sean Porter is going to be next, and then Crawford versus Spence, the fight after. I think PBC. I've heard that he might be moving across to PBC, which is really the only place that he can go. He shouldn't really be talking to any other promoter other than PBC. That's the place for him to go to finish his career and get that Errol Spence fight.
So so who did you say is fighting next?
Sean Porter.
Does that on PBC? Will that be on PBC?
I'd imagine it would be, yeah, because Porter is still a PBC fighter.
Hasn't he got a few fights left on his deal?
He's got one fight left, which expires, I believe, in November, or a contract that expires in November. Right. Yeah. But yeah, going back to Vergil Ortiz, so I know we've digressed a little bit. One thing I was really impressed with, he got hurt badly by Kavalauskas, and it was almost like when he got hurt, that's when he kind of unloaded on him. But it was almost kind of like measured attacking. And
he did it twice, actually. Yeah, it's more dangerous, a bit like Nigel Benn.
Yeah,
more dangerous when he was hurt. And actually, when he was hurt, he'd almost a few times he called him onto him.
Yeah,
I actually thought Kavalauskas was going to survive that last round, because he went down and then he just, I think he had 10. I think he got up at the third, because was he down 4 times in the final round or something?
He had 4 knockouts. Yeah, so he was down in the third, was it? And then down like 4 times in round 8.
Yeah, and like he got up and the clapper went for 10 seconds. I thought, well, it'll survive this to the next round, and then it just didn't. Just barrage of punches and just went down. I almost had nothing left.
But that's got to be very disheartening if you have, if you catch somebody with a good punch and then they just come back at you like a tenfold. That's got to be very disheartening. So that is good. Yeah, just kind of break your heart, really. But you got to say he's a threat now, Vergil Ortiz. I mean, why wouldn't they stick him in with a Crawford? I mean, how old is Crawford now? 34, 35?
Was there anyone else on the undercard?
No, nobody of note. No, nobody that I was particularly interested in.
Any news on your mate Berlanga? When's he in next?
Edgar Berlanga. I did hear something. When is he? I think he's out soon, yeah. I'll keep you updated, don't worry. All right, well, I think that's it, isn't it? Can we wrap it up? And then we'll do a quick prediction on Pacquiao versus Ugas, which is next Saturday. All right, cool. Let's wrap it up. Thank you.